Your phone is ringing, Marina, Mrs. Pick it up.
Nothing is real but God. Nothing matters but love for God. God is the only reality. All else that seems real is illusory. God and I are one. Meher Baba. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Thanks to beloved Baba and Jai Baba to all of you. We are reading this book called Conversations with the Awakener by Balnatu. And we are on chapter Will of God. It's on page number 83. Page number 83. Go ahead.
Is it true that not a leaf moves without the will of God? Your will? I ardently asked you. The question had been raging in my mind for years. I had likened your will to God's, but you did not comment on this. Calmly, you replied, yes, it is true, but it also depends. Depends on what? I asked impatiently. Aren't you contradicting your first statement with the second? With a serene, composed expression, you answered me. Apparently, yes. It is natural for anyone to say so. But in reality, there is no contradiction. This perplexed me. May I know the reasoning that supports your answer? I asked dubiously. It has a logic of its own. This logic takes different forms on different levels. To you, it presents two questions. How big is your God? And how subtle do you take your God to be? Does God depend on my concept of Him? I countered, no, God is totally independent. He does not depend on anything, although everything depends upon Him. However, his response to the questions depend upon the sincerity with which the seeker asks it.
All right. This is a very beautiful chapter, Will of God. We have done it in the past in several other discourses where, just to sum it up, there is something called God's will and there is something called apparent free will. We had also done earlier that the free will functions within the orbit of the God's will or divine will or Baba's will, whatever you call it. And we had also done that the divine will or God's will is always accommodating and it adjusts itself to the so-called apparent our will or free choice, whatever you call it. So here the author is asking, is there something like God's will? So here Baba is replying, yes, it is true that there is something like God's will, and nothing happens without the will of God. Then Baba says, but it also depends. Now we had done earlier in the discourses where Baba says, my will is law, my wish governs the law, and my love sustains the universe. So when we say my will is law, that means at various levels of understanding, at various levels of consciousness, various different laws operate. We need to understand at our level, we call it a law of karma or law of cause and effect. So when we talk about God's will, it simply means that there is an operation of the law of karma, and whatever as you sow, so shall you reap. And when you are reaping, obviously it is God's will. I'll go into that a little in a details much later, maybe. So he is Balnatu say, but you are contradicting your own statement. You are saying yes, and then you are saying, but it also depends. So depends on what? Aren't you contradicting? And Baba says with a serene, composed expression, you answered me apparently yes. In truth, in reality, there are apparent contradictions. Apparent in the sense there is what we call as a dichotomy. Two different viewpoints concurrently existing, and both are correct, both are right, both are coexisting, and both are correct. You will find a lot of apparent contradictions in Baba's statements over the entire ministry that he had. And it is not just in Baba's, you'll find it during Krishna's time, during Jesus's time. There are lots of apparent contradictions, and each one understands according to his or her own level of understanding. This perplexed me. May I know the reasoning that supports your answer? I asked dubiously. Dubiously here means anxiously. You were so anxious to know what is the answer to my question. It has a logic of its own. This logic takes different forms on different levels. We've been always saying this, that whenever Baba utters a certain quote or a certain discourse, at certain places it can be taken literally. At certain places one needs to apply our intellect, so to speak, as to what is the context in which Baba said whatever he said. Who was the audience? What is the audience? What was the theme of that particular sahwas? And depending upon that, he apparently contradicts himself. For example, when Baba talks about I'm just but digressing a little bit, the citadels of Maya or the agents of Maya. At certain places, he talks about anger being the worst out of so many things that we do in Maya. At certain places, he talks about lust. At certain places, he talks about greed. Very authentically, he says that that is the highest, that is the worst, And at certain places, he talks about backbiting. So, in other words, depending upon the environment, the situation, the audience, Baba gives that much of emphasis to that particular aspect of whatever Baba is trying to convey. So, Baba says here, it has a logic of its own, and this logic takes different forms at different levels, on different levels. To you, it presents two questions. How big is your God? And how subtle do you take your God to be? I mean, in other words, do you really take your God to be God? In other words, are you sincerely asking this question? In other words, how profound is your interest in knowing the genuine answer? Last time we had said this, that the quality of the answer will depend upon the quality of the question. If somebody asks a very superfluous question, the answer would be at that level. If somebody asks a very profound, deep down question, the answer would be that. And at one level of so-called the highest, there is no need for a question. You just know. In other words, the answer is built into the question, something like that. So does God depend upon my concept of him? The author is asking. I countered. Baba says, no, God is totally independent. And we have been understanding, I would say, God in that sense that he is in everyone, that he is in everything, and at the same time he is also in the nothing, which is not in everyone, in everything, and he is above all these things. In other words, he is, and he is above all these things. So here Baba says, no, God is totally independent. He does not depend upon anything, although everything depends upon him. However, his response to the questions depend upon the sincerity with which the seeker asks it. So in other words, this is my understanding, it is always a two-way traffic, whether the traffic would be at what level will depend upon where you are calling from. At what level are you seeking an answer? And if the seeking is really deep down, genuine and profound, the answer would be at that level. But why? How?
But why? How? Your voice flowed like a deep, living stream. Words can only point at or indicate the answers. Words in themselves are not answers. However, words can become the medium through which real meaning may be channeled and flood your being.
Again, this is so profound that words are just words. Last time we did words about somebody using a swear word and how we get agitated and irritated or exuberant, depending upon not just the word, but what it is conveying to my consciousness. We did that in our last session. So here Baba profoundly says, words can only point at or indicate the answers. Words in themselves are not answers. Take, for example, the word God, G-O-D. Now, it is only an indicative. It is only pointing to what we consider the concept of God. That word G-O-D, if you write on a paper, that does not become God. In a sense, everyone and everything is God, but it is not God in its entirety. Try to understand that words are only words. They are pointers. They are indicators. They will lead you to where you want to go. But words in themselves are not that. That's what Baba is trying to convey. Words can only point at or indicate the answers. Words in themselves are not answers. However, words can become the medium. So word is a carrier. It has become a medium. Word can become the medium through which real meaning can be channeled and flood your being. It's only a carrier. Like homeopathic medicine, we get that white, what we call sugar pill. The sugar pill in itself has nothing. It has no meaning. But when the medicine is dropped in the sugar pill becomes a carrier, a medium for carrying the medicines into our body. In the same way, words can become medium to lead us to where we want to go.
So the answer to any profound question given in words may change drastically depending upon the understanding and receptivity of the seeker. Sometimes the silence that follows the words may reveal the true answer.
Again, so profound. So the answer to any profound question given in words are given, may change drastically. The answer can change drastically depending upon the understanding and receptivity of the seeker, the person who is listening to that. What is his stature? What is his level of understanding and receptivity? So the answer is the same, is one answer, but it will change according to the receptivity and the understanding of the seeker. Sometimes the silence that follows the words may reveal the true answers. That means the words are not revealing the answer, but the silence that follows the words, which is hitting us here, will give us the true answers. This reminds me of once in Australia, Baba wanted to give some very profound discourse, very profound. And there were a group of people, 6-7 people. We got to know this when we visited Awakener's abode in the year 2008. It was the Golden Jubilee celebration of the opening of the Awakener's abode, and we were invited to speak and all that in Australia. So those people who were present at the time in 1958, when Baba actually visited, they were the ones who narrated this episode on the stage. And they said that we were there and we were told, we were asked, that listen very, very carefully. This is something so profound. And amongst that person, those people, there was one who could take down notes in shorthand. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I sometimes may not be very articulate in that. So Baba said something about the gross, the subtle, the mental, actually giving the example of a hat, where how when the hat moves backwards, there is the gross world is shielded, so you don't experience the gross. Now you are only experiencing subtle. Then when you move on to the mental, you do not experience the gross and the subtle. You only experience the mental, and then all of a sudden the hat is turned inwards. The entire direction of the cap is turned inwards, and you realize, aha, Aham Brahmasmi, I am God state. Baba explained that with gestures and with actual, articulation with the help of a hat. And there were 6, 7 people over there. And it was a profound discourse. And after that discourse, of course, they were asked to disperse. And once that program got over, they all came together and they thought that now it is such a profound thing. So let us jot it down. Let us write it out as to how we perceived it. And mind you, Baba being Baba, the person who had taken down the notes, those notes evaporated. They just couldn't be found where it was. Can you imagine something is being written and it is not being found? And such things happen in Baba's ministry. Baba would say, don't take photographs, and somebody would clandestinely do it, But here there was no cheating or anything, and there would be no photograph. The entire photo, whatever roll they call it at that time, film would be entirely blank. So it could not be found. So they said, never mind, if it is not found, let us all sit together and write out what Baba had said. And mind you, these were the people who were on the stage. They said, each one of us understood what Baba said differently. Can you imagine? And then they said, can you imagine that here is the Lord giving us a discourse. We are supposed to be very attentive and aware. We are supposed to, and in hardly half a day's time, when they met together after the program was over, they couldn't be, unanimous in what Baba had said. Then how can we trust certain literature? You can call it the religious books written after so many hundreds of years after the passing over of the master. So here, that is exactly what Baba is saying, that answer to given to any in answer to so the answer to any profound question given in words may change drastically depending upon the understanding and the receptivity of the seeker. And then sometimes, of course, the silence that follows is more profound. So that's what what Baba is trying to convey, is that each one perceives Baba's messages, Baba's discourses according to his caliber, according to his understanding, and according to his state of being at that particular point in time.
I made no reply, and you went on. If a person really feels that God flows through one's breath and courses through one's veins, that person will surely have the experience that not a leaf moves but by God's will, that nothing is accidental. Unless and until one feels deeply within oneself the presence of God, how can one expect to experience this feeling in one's outer life and surroundings?
So, in other words, in a sense, in truth, it is a fact that nothing happens without God's will. But for that person to experience that not a leaf moves without God's will, he must be so drenched into God's presence within his being that his experience actually vouchsafe, in a sense, it sort of stamps that particular statement that nothing happens according to God's will. I hope I'm making myself clear.
Everything happens according to God's will.
That nothing happens except by God's will.
Oh.
Sorry, that everything happens according to God's will. Because in the ultimate analysis, if there is nothing besides God, then even though we may be apparently exercising our so-called free will or free choice, ultimately it is dependent upon God's will. In last chapter, I think a few chapters before, we had done something like that the trees cannot fly, or some you cannot do this and all that. So it is possible to do your will as long as God's will supports whatever you want to do.
An idle question receives a dry verbal answer which is lifeless. How can such a question answer be expected to germinate and blossom?
That means if we want the answer to germinate and blossom within us, that everything happens according to God's will, then we need to be so much drowned in God's presence within us and around us that we actually experience that everything is happening according to God's will.
Thus,
Can you just how can
surely. And how can such an answer be expected to germinate and blossom?
so in other words, if we want the answer to germinate and blossom within us, then we should be ready to absorb the answer and to actually feel that it is everything is happening according to God's will and not just a superfluous question.
Thirstily, I drank your words and realized the futility of my question. A feeling of sublimity came over and uplifted me. I gazed upon you in adoration and kept quiet. Perhaps my silence pleased you. Your eyes shone and flashed with loving intimacy. Look at your question from a different perspective. What you experience in creation at any moment is a part of the infinite game I play with myself at my own cost. Hearing this, I felt shaken and exclaimed, the use of that word infinite is awesome to my mind. It threatens the whole basis of my rationality. Yet, at the same time, it gladdens my heart, for it opens larger vistas and my heart can soar high in those realms. Really, you responded sweetly. There was a look of wonder on your face. I was astonished to see such childlike innocence radiating from the face of one who had looked so serious only moments before. With no special intention, I raised my eyes to the top of a tall neem tree that was visible through the window. It was springtime, and the green leaves were in full blossom and gracefully dancing in the wind. Their movement reminded me of my initial question to you, and I felt as though they were singing a song in your praise. Each one of us moves only by the will of God.
So here again the important aspect I'm just trying to highlight is look at your question from a different perspective. What you experience in creation, I repeat, what you experience in creation at any moment is a myself at my own cost. In other words, everything that we experience is actually
Hey, what happened?
Yeah, what's the matter? You think they've gone off?
Sorry,
are you
sorry,
Okay.
sorry. The book.
okay?
Sorry.
Am I audible, visible?
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
Now, yes.
Okay. So here the answer is what you experience in creation at any moment is a part of the infinite game I play with myself at my own cost. So, from the standpoint of truth or reality, the false I or the limited I really does not exist. As Baba sometimes say, it's a divine dream. It is He who is dreaming, and in that dream, he thinks it is you and I and everybody else. And because he is dreaming, he is subjected to the law of karma. And because the law of karma is operational all the time, in terms of, as if you do good, good will return to you. If you do something wrong, then you have to bear the suffering. So he is going through all this at his own cost. That is what Baba says. Besides that, there is nothing much. Then the author says that when he was saying this, I was so awestruck, and I was looking at the tree, the neem tree, which was swaying in the wind, and the neem tree, the leaves seemed to sing. Each one of us moves only by the will of God. Now here, if you again put a logic to it, obviously, why is the leaf shaking? Because of the wind. And because of the wind, there is a law operational, and the tree is shaking. It's simple as that. If I jump from a top floor and I fall down, what is happening? The law is operating, the law of gravity. So everything happens according to the law, which is what is called God's will.
I thought of sharing this with you, but as I turned my head, a cool breeze flowed out through the window, and with it, you were gone. I felt deep within me that you had answered my question, but owing to my shallow receptivity, I was still far removed from it. The silence that still flows from your words is my only hope. But this too depends on God's will. Rather, your will imbued with your benevolent love.
I am sure many of us feel this way. We just got the answer what we are seeking within. We got it, and it was lost. And then we really struggle to again catch that, but we cannot catch it. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. We may catch it intellectually. That's not the catching at all. I'm talking from within. We get it. So here he says, he's looking at the tree, and when he turned around to convey that sing song to Baba, saying that each one of these leaves are saying that they are swinging because of the law, because of your will, of the will of God. He sees that there was a whiff, there was a flow of wind, and you have gone out of the window. And that's how he comes, and that's how he goes all the time. And I felt deeply within me that you had answered my question. Baba had answered the question, but owing to my shallow receptivity, isn't he reflecting each one of our emotions? Our receptivity is so shallow. I was still far removed from it. The answer many times for many things, the answer just comes and goes away, and we are still fumbling in the dark, so to speak. The silence that still flows from your words is my only hope. Because Baba did say that sometimes the answer comes not from the words, but from the silence that flows after the words have done their part. So he says that is my only hope, that one fine day that silence will give me the answer. But this too depends on God's will, rather your will, imbued with your benevolent love. Imbued means drenched, imbued means impregnated, imbued means permeated with your love. That means one fine day, I will be able to know experientially that everything is happening because of God's will, and that would be because of the benevolence of your love. So here we end the chapter. I am tempted to just give a very brief aspect of what Baba talked elsewhere. This is Baba's example. And Baba says, my will is law. That means everything happens according to the law, and that is my will. And we are covered by the law of karma. We all know that. It's a reflection of the material law. We call it law of cause and effect and all that. So in the moralistic sense, values, we call it the law of karma. And Baba gives this example that supposing there is a king in a remote town, village, what, there's a king there. He's ruling his kingdom, and he passes a law. What is the law? That if you do some good, you will be rewarded by the agents of the king. Or if you do something wrong, for example, if you murder somebody, you will be hanged. Or if you steal from somebody, your hands will be chopped off. Now, this is the law which has been passed by the king, and that has become the will of the king. Try to understand. Now, something happens in some remote village, where the king has never even gone. But the law operates. If you are caught stealing, you will be, your hands will be chopped off, and that is the operation of the will of the king. I hope I'm making myself clear. Although the king may or may not even be aware of what is happening out there in the world, he has simply infused a certain law, and the law operates over there all over his kingdom, and that is equivalent to the will of the king. In similar manner, when God has infused what we call as the law of karma, everything happens according to the law, and therefore everything is happening according to the will of God. This is my understanding. Anybody wants to share or say anything on this? Because it is simple as that, that God does not have the time to give punishment to anybody or to reward anybody. He has only instituted the law. And that is why we say that we are never punished for our deeds, but we are always punished by our deeds. The moment we do something, we have already done that to ourselves, because in a sense there is no other. So if I have done some good, I have done that good to myself only, because there is no other to whom I can do any good. But that I will experience over a period of time, for a simple reason that we are living in the domain, in the clutches of time, space, and causation. So in other words, that time will take place, but I will definitely get what I have given out into the universe. So shall we start? Yeah, we still have time. We'll start another chapter. Anybody has anything to share here? Nothing. Go ahead.
Following you is a perennial flowing. It was dusk, and I found myself sitting with you on a black stone ledge, sheltered by a protruding rock. We were facing a vast expanse, bare of trees or vegetation, except for some stunted, thorny bushes. But with you at my side, the rocky terrain was a beautiful sight. Off in the far distance, the setting sun glimmered on the surface of a muddy lake. I could make out a few thatched huts, green fields, and an avenue that cut through the farms to join a dirt road to the foothills. You were looking in one direction and I in another. Your silent presence is as enthralling as your converse of wisdom. I have never been able to determine whether your silence excels your words or if the opposite is true.
Many times, those who have been in Baba's presence, many people ask, "But what do you do when you go to Guru Prasad and sit with Baba?" At times there'll be some talk, some discourse, some joking, some storytelling, some entertainment like bhajans and all that, kawali and all that. And there are times when there is nothing happening, just silence. And people who have been there, they say that Baba's presence was so overpowering, was so awesome, that even in that silence, we receive the waves of his love all the time. So there is nothing like, you don't miss out on anything. There is always a free flow of love from him and to everybody over there who are sitting. And the most important part is that everyone feels there that Baba is giving a special importance or attention to him or her. If I am there, I would feel like this. Somebody else is there, somebody. That was a unique experience which many people who had been with Baba had felt as if they are special to Baba.
I didn't know if there was something you wished to tell me or if you wanted me to speak out. After a while, my mind could no longer bear your silence. So, in a low voice, I softly ventured, "Do you know what a funny thing I did last week?" You looked at me with interest. What? Your affectionate expression uplifted my spirit and delighted my heart. Straight away, I began to tell you. Last week, I was strolling down that avenue there, I said, pointing. The sun was pleasant, the breeze was cool and refreshing, and as it was wafted by, caressing my cheek, it reminded me of your touch. Your expression turned quizzical. "What's funny about that?" "Wait and listen," I said. Your eyes smiled, and I went on. At that moment, I remembered you and picked a wildflower from the roadside. Circling it over my head, I tossed it to the breeze, whispering, "It's for you." You did? Yes, and then silently and just then silently and completely unexpectedly a small cyclone came up from behind me, gathered the flower to its center and sped away down the road. And again the soft breeze began to blow. "But do you know what happened next?" you asked me. "No, what?" I inquired eagerly. "I caught the flower. I got it." "Really?" I said, amazed. "You want to see? I will show you." And so saying, you handed me the flower. I looked at it wonderingly and exclaimed, "Yes, it was exactly like this." "Not like this," you corrected me. "It is that flower." "But how can it look so fresh?" I said doubtfully. "Whatever is offered in love to me is received with love and is sustained by it." So the flower did not fade. Astonished, I could only mumble, "Incredible, far beyond my comprehension." The tossing of the flower to you was no more than an insignificant and casual offering.
So, in other words, what is important? Sorry, you want to read? Yeah, go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
At that, your eyes glistened. That's the real reason it came to me. There were no strings attached to it to hold it back. It came straight to me. On such rare occasions, these offerings reach me and touch my heart unbeknownst to the individual.
In other words, what Baba is expressing, that when you do certain things spontaneously with love, without any strings attached, then it reaches him. We are talking about anything that is offered with love. There are two things. One that comes to my mind right now is when Eraj Jasawala was once asked, whether you pray, and you may or may not know that even the Mandali during Baba's time did not know the prayers by heart, because there was no scope of reciting the prayer. Only when Baba wanted it to be recited, one person would just bring the magazine or a book or a printed prayer, and then they would read it out. It is not like how we do it now. It's all memorized. Not like at that time it was not so. So once Erach was asked that, "Do you pray?" And he said, "Yes, I do." And you want to know how I pray? And he just, which is his inimitable manner, he just withdrew within himself for a while silently and simply said, "Oh Baba." Just that "Oh Baba" that springs forth from within him without any strings attached, with deep down love. He said, "That's my prayer. That's all I do." Because he was he was always short of time. He would be doing a lot of things for Baba, like most of the Manli would be. So there was no time to sit and, stand before Baba and pray. There were times when Baba would ask that to be done. So it has to be very spontaneous. It need not be studied. It need not be a ritual that at a certain time in a certain posture you're supposed to stand, sit and do it. No. The other thing that I just comes to my mind is we had our president of the center, Darab Shah Katrak, Dara M. Katrak. So he had this very good habit, beautiful habit. Whenever he would visit Mehrabad and Mehrazad, he would take a lot of things that he felt that the Manli would like to have. He would take things for Mansari, he would take things for Erach, Mani, Meru, Goher, Mera, and others. He would take things, the so-called Parsi snacks and all that, which they would very much relish. So one day something happened, and one of the Manli members in presence of Mehra said, Arab sir, don't bring all this thing. Why you are taking so much of trouble, and we don't need anything. We have got sufficient. We have got enough. Something like that. And immediately Mehra snapped and told that person, I'm sure it could be one woman only, I don't know. And she said a very beautiful sentence that anything that is given with love must be accepted with love. In other words, she realized that all this that Darab Shah is doing is out of his love for all of us. Whether we may relish it, we may eat it, we may not, is a different matter. We must accept it with love. So here what has happened is that he just picks up, Balnatuji just picks up a wild flower and just tosses it into the wind and says, this one is for you. And then a storm comes and he explained that the flower is picked up, and just when, and Baba says, that came to me, I got it because you had done it so spontaneously and you had offered it to me, and therefore I got it. So that is what Baba is trying to convey in this chapter.
How can I invite such occasions to my life without you? You cannot. You looked at me with compassion and continued, with the best and greatest of your own efforts, you can, at the most, come closer to the outer fringe of my presence. Even this nearness confers upon an individual some wonderful experiences, but these often tempt the recipient to overvalue them. It is best to maintain an independent relationship with me, not depending upon so-called spiritual experiences or events.
So Baba is emphasizing here. Many of us do things in a studied manner, as we say, studied, that this is how we are supposed to love Baba. So at best, it is not love, because Baba says that studied manner of loving becomes very mechanical, and it is not full rasa. You call it rasa, it is not having that presence. Sorry, juicy. Okay, it is dumbless. You call it dumbless. I remember once Mera and I suppose maybe Naja, they made some patties for Baba. Khorshid. Thank you. Made some patties for Baba. You know what is patties? And Baba ate it and said, what is this? This is dumbless. Dum bina dum ka hai. And then Baba taught them how to make patties. And after that, potato, how to. Baba, when he explains it so beautifully. How to boil the potato, how to peel it, how to mash it, how much butter to put inside, how much salt to, all that, Even Baba's khichdi, he had taught it, and so he would, Soumya makes that sometimes, so meticulously he explains how. So in other words, here what Baba is trying to say in the chapter, let's come out of patties and khichdi, is that studied love is dry. Studied love can bring you to the fringe, to a level where you may experience my presence. But that is not the real thing. It will just fade away in very short time. It has to sprout out or spring out spontaneously. And therefore, Baba is advocating to the author here and to each one of us that we have to be very natural with Baba, and we have to be very independent of any of the ritualistic exercises or any of the experiences and events. Many of us, we are joining up certain experiences, and that is why we are loving Baba. Can you read the last sentence? It is best.
It is best to maintain an independent relationship with me, not depending upon so-called spiritual experiences or events.
So-called spiritual experiences or events. Many of us give a lot of importance to these so-called spiritual experiences and events. And therefore, Baba has said somewhere else, and I've been repeating this, that except for the experience of oneness with God, which you may call God realization, self-realization, whatever, all other experiences are in the domain of illusion and should not be given any importance to. Even that very, very high experience of a peer, seeing God in everyone and everything, seeing the Noor of God in everyone and everything. Baba, in fact, correctly says, feeling, because on the sixth plane you only feel. So you feel that you are seeing God in everyone and everything. That's a very, very high state, just one level below God realization or self realization. Even that experience, which is the highest type in a sense, is short of the real experience and is in the domain of illusion, and it should not be given any importance. We go through what we call chintu pintu experiences and we blow it up and we aggrandize it that this is my experience, this is it. Baba says that it has no value. The only value we can attach to it, Baba, thank you for giving me this experience, and I hope I remain worthy to love you more and more, to come forward in your means closer and closer in love to you. That's about all. Beyond that, if we aggrandize that, then that very experience or the very event will be bloating our ego and it would go counter to our traveling towards Baba.
Then what should be my attitude? Let your trust in me and love for me remain unaffected by such things.
See here, your trust in me and your love for me should remain unaffected by such things. It should not be related to such things. I get certain experiences, then I say, okay, Baba loves me a lot, so I love Baba. The experience is stopped, or the experience is it is trimmed down. Then, oh, I must have done something wrong. That's why Baba is not giving me this experience. No, one should be very independent of the experience. Our trust in Baba and our love for Baba should be entirely independent of such things.
But how to break through my present tendencies?
See, we all have this tendency. He's in a sense reflecting our, for us, he's like our wakil, our lawyer in a sense, where is, how can I break this tendency? Because this tendency is there in each one of us to aggrandize and show that I am getting these experiences.
You look away from me as though a direct answer to my question would not be useful to me and replied, you have to remove the massive armor of experience which has conditioned your life. Honestly, try to open your mind and heart to me before you embark on this uncharted journey. You made an gesture with your hand. To follow me is to flow on and on like the first surging wave on a river during flood time. That wave continues to rise ahead with renewed adventure. This kind of following leaves no traces of itself and it has no path. It becomes the movement of your heart in response to my call.
I would interpret, I'll read this again. I would interpret this as we have to have absolute, complete, full, irrevocable, very, very convincing trust and faith in Baba and flow as Baba makes us flow. That is what I would interpret or understand. I would like to remove I would like to read that out. But how to break through my present tendencies? We have a tendency when things go right in our life, when everything is fine in our life, we say, rock star, awesome, is superstar, a miracle, whatever you call it. But when things turn not in our favor, when things do not go as we want it to go, that is the time when we are expected to hold on to his daman with both hands, knowing full well that he is the creator of the creation, and therefore he is the creator of us. And if we have, let's say, instilled our absolute unconditional faith in him, trust in him, love for him, it can never go wrong. It will be going up and down, there is absolutely no doubt about it, but maybe we require that up and down, because nothing ever happens to us unless and until that happening is necessary for our own growth. That means that happening is an event or an effect of a cause which I have sown in the past. That happening will happen whether we have Baba with us or we do not have Baba with us. The only difference I feel could be that if we do not have Baba with us, when we go through this roller coaster ride, we tend to blame, we tend to be selfish, we tend to hurt others and to hurt ourselves. And if Baba is with us, we will still go through all this. There's no doubt about it. But we won't be winding the clock again and again. That means we are just out with that experience, no more that experience. We are over and out with that and clinging on to Baba. Sorry?
You become responsible.
No, not responsible in a sense. We are, what I'm trying to convey is we have to go what we have to go through. There's no doubt about it. Whether you have Baba or we do not have Baba. Having Baba, our responses to what is happening would be more or less non-binding, because we have Baba with us. We are all the time thinking about him, focusing on him, and we are not winding fresh samskaras. If we do not have it, we will still go through it, but we'll bind fresh samskaras. That means we'll have to again go through it. That's what my reading is, my interpretation is. So let me read now. You have to remove the massive armor of experience. We have got so many experiences, which has conditioned your life. Our life is a conditioning of our past experiences, and we are supposed to live in the present moment. But we are mostly goaded, triggered, influenced by the past. So Baba says you have to leave all those past armor of past experiences. Honestly try to open your mind and heart to me before you embark on this uncharted journey. This journey is an uncharted journey. There is no such thing as a path. Baba said that. There is no such thing as a spiritual path. The path is what you make of it. When you walk, the path is created. As many souls, that many paths. There is no such thing as strict one path that you are somewhere, you come to the path and then you walk. No. You made a gesture with your hand. To follow me is to flow on and on. Like the first surging wave on a river during flood time. During flood time, you see how the surging waves are there. That wave continues to rise ahead with renewed adventure. This kind of following leaves no trace of itself, and it has no path. It becomes the movement of your heart in response to my call. In other words, as I interpret it, is to simply hold on to him, go through whatever needs to be gone through in a very spiritually matured manner, accepting what comes in your life. It doesn't mean that you will not take the corrective actions. I always repeat this, because many people say, oh, I am sick, it is God's will, and Baba wants me to be sick, and therefore I will not take medication. It's not like that. I've been repeating this over. Acceptance is a very important part of what we are going through. Because when we accept things, then instead of, crying over why me, this, that, Why did it happen to me? What is the problem? You become a part of the solution and not a part of the problem, and you just move ahead. Okay, now this has happened. Now what next? And at the time of what next, you invite Baba into your fold, into your being, and he would guide what next step one needs to take.
I was enthralled by your words, yet at the same time, I must have looked bewildered as I groped to understand you fully. You saw this and fixed your deepest eyes on me. Why don't we close this topic? You said in a gentle, loving way. You'd better get home or you'll be late for supper.
So practical. Just you can't understand what I'm trying. Just close the topic and go back home.
A perfect blending of your humor and profundity. Docile and obedient, I got up and began to climb down the hill. Yet I could not resist turning back to have a last look at you.
We do that when we leave Merazad and Merabad, turning back. At one time, when we used to return, and the bus would go the normal way, from that kinetic chalk and then take a left and all that. Baba's Meher retreat, the flag, could be seen for a very, very long time. Even though everybody would, strain their neck and try to see as much as we could see. But now the construction has come up, the trees have grown, so it's not very visible.
A charming glow illumined your face. You snapped your fingers and then gestured gracefully. Don't look back. Go ahead. Flow on.
That is Baba's gestures. You must have seen that film where how it's a train, complete train full of Baba lovers, all leaning out of the windows and out of the door and waving out to Baba, and Baba would just wave out to this and do this gesture. Take me with you, take me with you. Go on, take me with you. So Baba is telling Balnatuji, there's no need to look back. Just flow, just get going.
This encounter has made me feel so close yet so far from you. Natural yet strange. In my wildest dreams, I could never have imagined that casually tossing a small wildflower to you would bring me a message of perennial flowing to you.
So that's the chapter, perennial flowing to you. In other words, he says that I never imagined that just a gesture of throwing a wildflower and saying, this is for you, actually reached you, and such a profound discourse you gave from that little wildflower. All right. I think we are almost, 2 more minutes. Okay. So talking about wildflower, I'm reminded of I'll make it very short. In 1932, Baba was walking and he saw a wildflower. We know that wildflower, but is there any name for it? Any wildflower? So Baba just very casually picked up a wildflower, and the date was 24th of May, 1932. So Baba gives it to Elizabeth Patterson, and says, keep it well or keep it safe or whatever, and also mentions, mark the date, note down the name. So she had kept it in her Bible and then wrote Baba gave on this particular day, 24th May 1932. Exactly 20 years by the date, 24th of May 1952, when Baba underwent a self-imposed suffering by way of this car accident, automobile accident, in Prague, Oklahoma, in USA. That date was 24th of May, 1952, and that car was being driven by Elizabeth Patterson herself. Of course, she would be very unhappy. She would feel guilty that because of me, Baba suffered so much and all that. Much later, I think it was even after Baba passed over, if I'm not mistaken, when she casually opened the Bible, it was written over that 24th May 1932. So in other words, Baba gave a sign, a signal, 20 years by the date. Remember this date. Baba said, remember this date. So I just thought of wildflower. All right, coming back to Balnatuji, 7th of October, which is just a few days from now, is an important day. That is Thursday, 2 days from now actually. which is when Balnatu joined Meher Baba in the year 2003, I suppose. Is somebody here to correct me, or 2006? I think it's 2003. 7th of October. And 7th of October also happens to be a very important date on which in 1954, Baba dropped the alphabet board. In other words, Baba stopped using the alphabet board on the 7th of October 1954. 7th is a Thursday, and so I won't be on Thursday. I have another session on Thursday. So in other words, this is the importance of the date, and this is the importance of the man whose writings we are reading and from whom we are getting to know so many things. He is actually reflecting, as I keep repeating this, reflecting our own emotions, our own weaknesses, our own shortcomings, our own attachments, and giving us an opportunity to know the answers from the other side, from the side of the truth, from the Awakener. So thank you once again. With that, we end this session. Avatar Meher Baba ki Jai.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, and thank you everyone. Thank you Baba. Thank you Baba.